Hey gang, it's Jeff and welcome to our live stream. I'm really excited. We are 5 days away from the end of the annual enrollment period, and we have Ari Parker, the co-founder of Chapter, on with us to answer your Medicare questions. I'll answer your Social Security questions, and it will be expertly moderated by our producer, Jill, who will make sure that the questions come when they should come. Just the standard disclaimer, many of the questions we cover here are nuanced. We'll do our best to answer them, but our responses are meant to be directional, not exact. Your situation may require more details than we can give in a live stream. So because of that, the live stream is for education purposes only. And we haven't had the chance to speak with you one-on-one, so please treat this information as general guidance, not advice to act upon. For anything specific to your situation, make sure you talk with a qualified professional. Speaking of qualified professionals, we're 5 days away from the end of the Medicare Annual Enrollment Period, and there's been a lot of change happening to Medicare this year. A lot of questions people have had both on the live stream and the comment section, and at our partner Chapter's house when people call in their company. So I'm going to put the number for Chapter up on the screen. For those of you who haven't had the opportunity to speak to someone, you've got 5 days to do it. We would recommend that you talk to somebody with your questions. Medicare is a wonderful partner of ours. Give them a call at 440-703-1224 to see if they can help. All right, with all of that, we've got Ari, we've got Jill. Jill, why don't I hand it over to you to get us started?
All right, let's get going. So tonight we have a lot of questions that have been emailed in, both on the Medicare front and on the Social Security front. So we will definitely be covering all of them. But of course, as always, we would love to take your questions live. So do please start putting those into the chat box and we will answer them as we go. All right, so we will begin with a Medicare question for Ari. Dan is asking, I don't turn 65 until September 2026. When should I sign up?
In June. June is when your period will open to sign up for Medicare. So there's nothing you need to do right now. The period that we're in, the annual enrollment period, is for those who are already on Medicare. So there's nothing that you need to do until June. In June is when you'll apply to enroll in Medicare, and your Medicare will begin September 1st.
All right, great. Steve is also asking Medicare question. He's saying, am I starting Medicare while working full time at a large employer with their health insurance? Is that a good thing to do?
No, you don't want to double pay for insurance. So I would do a comparison between your employer provided coverage and what you would receive by starting Medicare. As a baseline, is more than $200 a month deducted from your paycheck, so $100 biweekly for your insurance? If so, it would be good to do an apples to apples comparison, side by side, if you will, of your work provided coverage versus Medicare. Oftentimes people are surprised by how comprehensive Medicare is and its excellent insurance. But if you're paying less than $200 a month for your employee coverage, then I'd probably suggest staying on your employer coverage unless you have a super high deductible like I do. I have a $6,000 deductible, meaning my wife, daughter, and I don't see a dollar of benefit until we pay $6,000 out of pocket. And so I can't wait to be on Medicare.
Okay. Carl has a question for Jeff on Social Security. Is the Social Security amount determined by the 35 highest years of earnings and then the interest factors applied? Or are the interest factors applied and then the 35 highest years of income determined?
So the first 59 years of your life, the multipliers are added in. So I always use this example because it's a really good one. Everybody remembers 1983, but if you were working in 1983, a job in high school or right out of college, you might have earned $20,000 a year in 1983. That's worth about $65,000 a year today. That's including the multiplication factor. Once you reach 69, there is no multiplication factor. It's a factor of 1. Now, having said that, people who are working at age 60, 61, 62, 63 are generally making a lot more even after you adjust for your the duration of the time, they're still earning a lot more at age 60 than they were at age 18 or 19. So it almost always works out in your favor to continue and let the high earning years roll off, even if they only have a multiplication factor of 1.
All right, great. We're getting a lot of hellos and greetings from people that have been here before. So thank you for coming back and tuning in. A Medicare question for Ari. Do I need Medicare if I retire with a federal health plan?
It's about 50-50 as to whether federal retirees choose to enroll in Medicare Part B. It would depend on whether you're subject to the 2 Medicare wealth taxes. If you're subject to the income-related monthly adjustment amount, the acronym is IRMAA, then oftentimes you wouldn't take Medicare Part B because then you'd be paying a higher amount for your Part B premium in addition to your FEH coverage. So it really depends. The jury is split. Some FEH retirees choose to enroll in Part B, some don't. The official resource is the Office of Personnel Management, and that's who I'd suggest reaching out to if you want to go over your options.
Okay. This is a Medicare. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I'm not sure. Okay. So Scoutmaster Troop says, my wife and I file taxes jointly. Do we both need to fill out separate SSA 44s to appeal IRMAA?
Yes. There's no Medicare family plan. Medicare is individual insurance. So you each need to apply separately to enroll in Medicare. You each need to apply separately for your additional coverage. And you each need to file separately in order to appeal your IRMAA.
All right. Trisha has a Medicare question. She said, I am 56 and have been on OPM disability retirement since 2004 with continuous FEHB, Federal Employee Health Benefits coverage. She was initially enrolled in Medicare Parts A and B due to disability, but was advised to drop Part B because FEHB would let her re-enroll later without a penalty. She now wants to sign up for Part B, but is getting conflicting answers about whether she will owe a late enrollment penalty. So the core issue she has is, does FEHB coverage as an OPM disability retiree count as credible coverage that protects her from the Medicare Part B late enrollment penalty, even though she has not had coverage based on active employment since 2004? She also has seen claims that any disability-related penalty disappears automatically at age 65. Is that true?
So this is a super specific question, and I'm going to direct the questioner to the Office of Personnel Management in order to verify whether indeed the federal employee retiree coverage was disability coverage, was creditable for the purpose of avoiding the Part B late enrollment penalty. As a general rule, for those FEH retirees past age 65 who choose not to enroll in Part B, they would owe a Part B late enrollment penalty if they change their mind at a later point in time. But the nuance here is that this person wasn't yet 65.
All right, Jeff, for you on Social Security, Kirk is asking, I'm 65 and have been retired for 4 years. I signed up for Medicare and started on that October 1st, 2025. Since I've done that, when the time comes that I want to collect Social Security, is it as easy as signing into my Social Security government account and selecting the start date to collect Social Security?
It is. So when you sign on to My Social Security and you go to your homepage, you go down to the bottom and there's a link that says something like Start My Retirement Benefits. You click on that link, it'll take you through the process. It's super easy. I will say when you're doing this though, you can sign up to 4 months before you start receiving Social Security. Right now, given everything that's going on, I would recommend that you take the 4 months if you can. You're not going to lose out if you sign up 3 months or 2 months ahead of time, but you do have up to 4 months. So since you know that you're going to do it and you know when you're going to do it, you might as well take advantage of that.
Okay. KKK5PE has a Social Security question as well. I will be 65 in July of 2026. I plan on taking my deceased ex-husband's Social Security at some point. When I do I have to switch to my own as at age 70? His is more than mine.
So you never have to switch from the survivor benefit to your own benefit. There are some arbitrage opportunities. I wish I had a different word than arbitrage, but there are some opportunities here. And really, the thing to note about taking the survivor benefit is that you can let your survivor benefit grow, and it will continue to grow all the way up to your own age 67. You can take your own benefit, and that will continue to grow up until age 70 for most of you, or right around 70. It depends on your full retirement age, but it's going to be plus or minus a month or two. The point I'm trying to make is that check out your options on what you want to take when, and let the other grow. You are never required to take your own benefit if you start off with the survivor benefit, or vice versa.
Okay, and Scott is asking in Social Security, my Social Security benefit estimate was $1,700 a month ago, but I just looked at it and now it is $1,760. Why did my Social Security estimate of $1,700 a few months ago go up to $1,760 December 1st?
It could be a number of things. One is the cost of living adjustment is whether you take Social Security now or you take it later, you get the benefit of the cost of living adjustment. That could be it. Or they could have just recalculated your earnings. Remember what I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream is that the Social Security Administration takes your best 35 years. And so if you had a low earning year being replaced with a high earning year, it could affect your payment. But remember, it's 1/35th, so it's not going to affect your payment massively in one single year. But if you have quite a few high earning years replacing quite a few low earning years, then it starts to become really big numbers. So it's either they recognize the cost of living adjustment now that that's been published for 2026, or they replace some of your low earning year, a low earning year, with a higher earning year.
Okay. A Medicare question from somebody said, if I want to keep the Part D insurance company I'm already using, do I need to sign up for that same company again?
No, it just automatically rolls over. There's nothing that you need to do.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Social Security from Nom de Plume. I want to keep my full-time job and start collecting Social Security. I've reached my full retirement age. What are the drawbacks?
You want to keep your full-time job and start drawing Social Security. Well, there's no penalty. There's no earnings limit anymore once you reach full retirement age. You earn as much as you want. You can earn $1 million a year. There's no clawback on your Social Security like there would be prior to full retirement age. The only drawback is that, and this is something to really consider, your maximum increase in your payment happens after age 67. So up until age 67, it's between 5.5%, 6.5% per year for every year that you wait. Your Social Security payment increases. Once you hit full retirement age, it's 8% per year. And so if you start drawing, you don't get the growth. And if you're working and you don't need the money, that's something to consider. You could also invest it. I mean, that's something else to consider. But you get 8% on everything in the future, not just 1 year of investments. So that's the only drawback I can think of.
Okay. Opa Andrew is saying, I retired last December and will turn 65 next October. I don't plan to take Social Security till further down the road. I know I'll need to sign up and pay out of pocket. Any issues with this?
So she's talking about Medicare Part B.
It says retired last December. She does not plan to take Social Security till further down the road. I
So
know I'll need to sign up and pay out of pocket.
So it sounds like this might be for you, Ari. She's asking the question: is it okay to pay out of pocket for her Part B rather than to have it taken from her Social Security check?
Oh, yes. The way that you'll be billed until so most people start Medicare without taking Social Security because they're waiting until full retirement age. So the government invoices you on a quarterly basis. They literally send you a paper invoice. And then the smart thing to do is to set up Medicare Easy Pay. So that way you don't miss a payment to Uncle Sam. Then when your Social Security begins, your Part B premium is automatically deducted from your Social Security check. If you're subject to IRMAA, meaning you're a high earner, then your Part B and your Part D surcharges are deducted from your Social Security check as well.
Okay. So Writer 89 asks a Medicare question. Does Plan G cover chiropractic care better than a Medicare Advantage plan?
There's very limited coverage under original Medicare for chiropractic care. It can't be for maintenance, and it has to be related to the spine, which most chiropractic work is, but it's very limited is the point. I believe there's a technical term. I think I'm going to try to pronounce it, but I'll probably butcher it. It's subluxation, I believe, is the technical term that they use. What is it, Jeff?
No, I'm trying to pronounce it. It sounds like a really difficult to pronounce word. I've never heard it before. Subluxation.
Yeah, it has to be a manipulation of the spine. And some people go to chiropractic. I love my chiropractor. Sometimes he doesn't work on my spine at all. Sometimes he's working on my rotator cuff, my neck, things that aren't my spine is the point. So it really depends. And it's very limited under original Medicare. So under Medicare Advantage, sometimes there is a chiropractic benefit. I wouldn't let it sacrifice your hospital and medical benefits, though. So just to get a little more chiropractic, I'd prefer to see you pay out of pocket and choose the more comprehensive and flexible coverage if you can afford it.
Okay. Just a comment from Ventana Vic. He says he's going to call you, Ari, after December 10th. He's going to call Chapter after December 10th to have a detailed discussion. Because he knows you guys are super, super busy guiding so many people through the enrollment period, but he is looking forward to having a great conversation after December 10th.
Okay.
All right.
I love that.
So,
that's great.
Just to be sure, he doesn't need to do anything before December 10th. Is that what he's saying?
That's what I was wondering. I'm not sure.
I'm not certain. Ventana Vic, if you do need something beforehand, let us know here. Ask the questions, and of course, call the number on the screen before then, before December 7th.
No, I appreciate the conscientiousness on this viewer's part, though. The period that we're in right now is for 72 million Americans who are already on Medicare. If you're new to Medicare, either by way of turning 65 or by way of coming off your work-provided coverage or your spouse's work-provided coverage, then this enrollment period doesn't apply to you. You can do all the same things on December 8th or after. So I appreciate this viewer's conscientiousness. That said, if he is or she is one of the 72 million Americans already on Medicare, then you might be constrained by that December 7th deadline. And we can talk to you tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay, here is a question. I believe this is a Medicare question. I stopped work, retired in 2024. In 2025, I realized higher income due to Roth conversions. Now I need to fill out an SSA 44 for IRMAA. 2026 will be less. Do I fill out just step 3 estimated?
So as a question, since they have a Roth conversion, does that count towards IRMAA? It sounds like that's the question.
Roth conversions count towards IRMAA because it's part of modified adjusted gross income.
Yeah, that's right.
So my question would be when the Roth conversion happened. Is it happening? Did it happen this year? Or it sounds like it happened this year. And they're asking if they can use their anticipated MAGI for next year in order to appeal their IRMAA. And the answer is yes. Here's the thing though. For 2026, they're going to be looking at your 2024 return. And we're talking about a taxable event that happened in 2025. They're not going to look at your 2025 income until 2027. So this might be a premature appeal.
Okay. All right. So Ventanovic has wants to know, Ari, if you want to add to this. Jeff put out a video, a Medicare video just recently about, and it says that it's about selling my primary residence after age 63 and $13,872 penalty. Great
Okay.
video. Ari, maybe you can add to that.
So I actually got nervous when I saw this question. Oh, Jeff, I know you're about to jump in, but I got nervous when I saw this question. And Jill, you're putting me on the spot. Guilty. I didn't watch the video yet, and I'm going to late tonight.
Awesome. Anything to add to that, Jeff?
I was just going to say the 13,000 it relates to the maximum IRMAA penalty if you have a mega gain, but it's probably better if Ari watches the video before he comments on this one, because I think you need the whole context.
Okay.
One thing I'll say though is that I've seen some massive IRMAA wins. Massive. I've seen people literally lower their IRMAA by upwards of 5 figures as a result of winning their appeal. And the appeals aren't hard to win. You just need a life-changing event. There's 8 life-changing events that count for the purpose of an appeal. Having a really good year in the stock market isn't one of them. It needs to be one of those 8. The 2 most common are work stoppage or work reduction.
Okay. BR549 has a Social Security question. If I take Medicare at 65, but wait till 67 to sign up for Social Security, can I choose the month I want my Social Security to begin if I sign up 4 months ahead?
Oh, sure. You can, the 2, although the 2 are brother and sister, meaning that a lot of the administration is done at the SSA, they do have separate rules, and you can sign up 4 months in advance for Social Security no matter when you take Medicare. And you can take Social Security late. You don't have to take it before you take Medicare. You can take it at age 70 and take Medicare at age 65.
Okay. Medicare question. Male, 64 years old, eligible July 2025. Getting attacked by Medicare salespeople.
Yes.
How do I know that they're actually picking what's right for me, as opposed to whatever insurance company that's paying them the most?
It's a great question. So you can start by doing your own research at Medicare.gov, or Jeff has his own copy of It's Not That Complicated, which is a great primer on your Medicare landscape. And it's a bestseller on Amazon. And we actually have a Holy Schmidt version of the book, and we're giving it away complimentary to you. And that would provide a great entry point to what Medicare covers, what it doesn't, and what option you should choose for additional coverage. As for whether someone that you're speaking to who calls you on an unsolicited phone number, a spam text message, a direct mailer, here are the questions that you could ask. First, how do you search all insurance companies? What platform are you using? How many insurance companies? When's the last time you recommended one of the insurance companies that you have on the top of your mind? Do you have a way to check whether a provider is in network or not? Do you have a way to show me my prescription costs besides going to Medicare.gov, which you can do on your own? These are the types of questions you should be curious about. You should also wonder about their ongoing follow-up and support. Local advisors are well-intentioned. Really, they're trying to do the best that they can. Many of them are focused on winning new business, as you're experiencing right now. They really want to reach you at 64 and a half. And then they're not as interested in you once they sign you up for coverage. And they might not be willing to help you during the annual enrollment period with shopping your drug coverage. That's not the way it works at Chapter. Regardless of which option you choose, we're going to hold a review with you every fall to make sure you're on the right coverage and do a tune-up. And on average, we save our members $1,100 on their prescriptions by doing a tune-up every fall.
Okay, great. And Ari, you mentioned a lot of really great questions there. And so if you are listening and you want to get those questions, this will be available for you to re-listen to. And so you can re-listen and get those questions because I'm sure people will want to hear those again. All right, great. So we have a Social Security question. My wife and I are high earners and qualify for a large Social Security benefit each. Is there a max that a couple can make that would be less than our combined individual amounts?
No. So if you had one very high earner and one very low earner, the maximum you could receive is 150% of the high earner's Social Security payment at full retirement age. And actually, the high earner could actually go to age 70. So that'd be 174%, I suppose. But if you have two high earners, they can each claim their own Social Security. The only thing I would say here is that a lot of people will try to, using that term again, arbitrage the spousal benefit and their own Social Security payment. And there is something called dual entitlement. So if you file for your own Social Security payment and expect to flip to a higher payment later, or vice versa, you're effectively locking in a portion of the lower payment for the other benefit. So be very careful if you're planning on trying to arbitrage the difference. But if you're just talking about strictly, I make a lot of money, my partner makes a lot of money, is our payment, is my payment or their payment going to be reduced because we're both claiming on our own earnings record? No, it won't be.
Okay. Carl is asking, Ari, can you talk about the rule of 8 months from the subsequent month of your last day of work to sign up for Part B, especially when you're older than 65?
Yes. So as a rule, you start Medicare at 65. It's designed to be your primary insurance. The only people who have an exception are those who work for a large employer or your spouse works for a large employer. A large employer is defined as 20 employees or more, rule of 20. So the period that's being referred to here is the Part B special enrollment period, which only applies to someone who is actively employed by a company with 20 employees or more, or your spouses. Now, technically, you have 8 months once you or your spouse wrap up your employment, you retire, you resign, what have you, to apply to enroll in Medicare. The question is, what will you do for coverage during those 8 months, though?
Yep.
Here are some answers. You could say, I'm going to Cobra. My company is giving me a Cobra severance package. Amazing. That's not considered primary coverage, though. Medicare is designed to be your primary coverage. So your Cobra would only be secondary to Medicare. So Jeff and I have seen people who have eye-popping on these live Q&As. We've seen people who owe $70,000 because they thought that they're past 65. They thought their Cobra was creditable for the purpose of delaying Medicare. And you're in for a rude surprise if that's the case. We've seen it cost people tens of thousands of dollars. So even though you technically have an 8-month period to apply to enroll in Medicare, don't wait. You don't want a gap in your coverage. Medicare is designed to be your primary coverage once you or your spouse retire.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's great to know. All right, Brian wants to know, Medicare question. Do Medicare Gap and or Advantage plans have dental?
There's two options for additional coverage. Option one is Medicare Supplement, which is also known as Medigap. It's like calling North Carolina the Tar Heel state, synonymous terms. If you go with Medigap, then you would want to choose a standalone prescription drug coverage, and you have comprehensive coverage. Option two is Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage is a replacement for original Medicare administered by a private insurance company. So those are your two options for additional coverage, and it's one or the other. They're mutually exclusive. So the question is, which one covers dental? And the answer is some Medicare Advantage, that is option two plans, would cover dental. The trade-off, though, is that option two is managed care. It's subject to a private insurance company's terms and conditions. Don't sacrifice your 3 Ps, your providers, your prescriptions, your priorities, in order to get a little more dental benefit, which original Medicare doesn't cover, so your Medicare supplement wouldn't cover either.
Okay, great. Social Security question from Kevin emailed in. Could you explain exactly what happens when someone exceeds the Social Security earnings limit in a given year? My understanding is that if you go even $1 over the limit, Social Security will withhold an entire monthly check because they don't do reductions. For example, if my monthly benefit is $2,000 and I exceed the limit by any amount with the dollar withheld for every $2 earned rule, they would still withhold the full $2,000 payment. I've also heard that they eventually make it up through an adjustment once you reach full retirement age, but I'm not clear on how that process actually works.
Sure. So they don't withhold an entire check if you went $1,000 over and you owed $500. They're not going to withhold an entire check. I will say, practically speaking, they're not going to know until long after you have earned the money that you've earned the money if you don't notify them in advance. I would recommend that if you're going to go over to you, let them know, because if you don't, you will get a big bill, and you don't want that. You want them to start reducing your Social Security payment by much smaller amounts. But there wouldn't be a way for them to actually know if on December 15th or December 31st you went over by a few $100s for the month of December, that they should just take your entire January payment. They're quick, but they're not that quick. So on that point, wouldn't worry too much about it. The other question you had was, if you heard eventually they make it up through a one-time adjustment. They do. Anything that they withhold from your check, your Social Security payment, is basically put back in your account, and it's recalculated. It uses the same deferral multipliers between 65 and 66 and 67, et cetera, just on a much smaller amount. And so once you reach full retirement age, they will give you the larger payment. And at full retirement age, you can earn as much as you want, and it doesn't matter.
Okay, Oregonians loving Portugal. What is the best state to retire in for Medicare Advantage or a supplement?
Oh, I love this question. No one's ever asked me this question before. So if I were for Medigap, I would say there's a few states that immediately come to mind, and they would probably be Iowa, South Carolina. There's a few others that are right there with Iowa and South Carolina. If you're looking for a populated urban area, surprisingly, Illinois is quite affordable when it comes to Medicare. Not talking about anything else. Now, on the Medicare Advantage side, I would say Florida, South Florida would be a great place to find a Medicare Advantage plan. And if all your doctors are in network, Southern California can be pretty good as well. Though I'd probably say South Florida has it beat. There's just so much competition there. The plans are super generous. The networks are well established. So on the Medicare Advantage side, you would be well served to retire in what's that area called? Jeff, on the
Are you talking about the area in Florida?
Palm Beach to Miami-Dade?
That's called South Florida.
South Florida. Thank you.
South Florida.
All right, Jeff. Joe Bonchi wants to know, the calculator when logged in on my Social Security webpage shows that my Social Security payment at 69 years and 11 months would be the same as at 70 years old. Is that accurate or an error? I am currently 69 and 6 months.
No, it would be an error. Once you reach that 67 to 70 period, you pick up about 2/3% per month for waiting, and so it should be 2/3% higher between age 69 and 11 months and age 70. I will say that everything you see on the Social Security website, it's pretty good, but a lot of it is an estimate, and you actually need to be ready to go to actually get the full number, the correct number. They don't. So the website doesn't factor in future cost of living adjustment increases, because they don't know what the cost of living adjustment is going to be, for example. And they also don't factor in whether you're going to work for a month or two, or 3 or a year. And so they calculate your Social Security payment in the future as if you were taking that today. So if it's showing the same between 69 and 11 months and 70, there's going to be about a 2/3% difference.
All right, another Social Security question from Janine. My husband has started taking his Social Security at 62. I plan to keep working past my full retirement age. If I pass away and he takes a survivor benefit, will it be reduced by any amount since he started his at age 62?
They aren't linked. So his Social Security payment is reduced by taking it at age 62. He gets 70% of what he would get at full retirement age, and frankly, he gets, if he went to age 70, it would be 77% higher than age 62. However, the benefit that he would receive as a survivor is calculated differently. It's what you would receive if you had already claimed Social Security, and if that's not the case, if you hadn't claimed Social Security, it's what you would have received at the date of your passing if it was higher than full retirement age or full retirement age. It's the larger of the two, reduced by your partner's age. So if your partner filed for the survivor benefit at age 62, 63, 64, it's going to be less than if they filed at their own full retirement age. So if they filed at their own full retirement age, that is the maximum age that they will maximize the survivor benefit at that point. And that has nothing to do with when they claim their own Social Security payment.
Okay, Medicare question from Jay Andrews. If a Medicare Advantage or Part D drug plan application gets denied after AEP deadline, can I continue to enroll in a different Advantage Part C plan that included drug benefits?
The question is for someone who wants to sign up for an Advantage plan. They submit it by the December 7th deadline, but then after the December 7th deadline, it gets rejected. The instances where that would happen is when you're applying for a Medicare Advantage plan that you actually don't qualify for. For example, if you were looking at a standard Medicare Advantage plan and you instead signed up for one that's designed to coordinate benefits between Medicare and Medicaid, if you don't have Medicaid, you're going to get rejected for that coverage. So just make sure that you're signing up for the Medicare Advantage plan that you actually qualify for, and you won't have an issue. There's no underwriting for Medicare Advantage. They're not allowed to ask questions about your health history. But if you do sign up for the wrong type of Medicare Advantage plan, and there's two that immediately come to mind. One, you sign up for a plan that coordinates benefits between Medicare and Medicaid, but you don't have Medicaid. 2, you sign up for a chronic special needs plan, but you don't have the chronic health condition in question, then yes, you will be rejected, even if you apply before the December 7th deadline. So your options there would be either it'll revert to the previous plan that you had if you were on an Advantage plan, or if you didn't have an Advantage plan prior to the submission, you'll be stuck with original Medicare unless you have a special election period otherwise.
Okay. Back to that question on the best state to retire in for Medicare. Someone wants to know what about Washington State?
Washington State's a toughie. Here's why. It's quite expensive on the Medicare supplement side. It's maybe the 4th or 5th most costly state for Medicare supplement. On the Medicare Advantage side, there are some really nicely designed Medicare Advantage plans, but it depends where in Washington State you live, because some parts of the state, for example, the eastern side of the state, are more rural than the Seattle, Bellevue area.
Okay. Pakor 007 is a Medicare question. Married, one collecting Social Security. If we exceed the earnings limit, do we have to pay for the Medicare penalty and Part D? Why?
The earnings limit. I think that means IRMAA.
Yeah, the reason why is there. I saw this question when it first came in. This is a philosophical question as to why IRMAA exists.
Well, it's married and one is collecting Social Security currently. If we exceed the earnings limit, do we have to pay a Medicare penalty and Part D?
It's not a penalty. It's based on your joint return. So if you file jointly, then yes, it would be based on your joint income, and that would include your spouse's Social Security earnings. And so if you're above the threshold for 2026 is based on your 2024 return. So if on your 2024 return, you and your spouse earned more than $218,000 modified adjusted gross, then yes, IRMAA will apply. If you just slightly exceeded it, then you're not going to owe very much in a Part B and Part D surcharge, but it'll be something. If you earned a lot more than $218,000, that's a great problem to have, but you're going to pay more. It's an escalator, and there's 5 brackets, I believe, going all the way up to $750,000 and above.
Okay. Scott is asking a question for both of you. I plan on taking Social Security at 65. My birthday is in February. When should I sign up for, Jeff, Social Security, and Ari, Medicare?
So Social Security, if your birthday is in February, now would be a good time. And February 2026, that is. If your intention is to start in February 2026, you can sign it up to 4 months in advance. It's December. That's 3 months in advance or 2 months in advance, depending on how you look at it. So I would jump on it for Social Security.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing for Medicare. If you're turning 65 in February, then now is the time that you can activate your Medicare. Your Medicare number will be issued quickly if you apply online. I've seen it issued as fast as 36 hours from the time of application. The Social Security Administration has been very good at processing the online applications to enroll in Medicare. Your window to apply in Medicare has already started, though, and your coverage will begin February 1st.
Okay. This is a Medicare question. Will the 6 states that will have the original Medicare in 2026 allowed to require prior authorizations going to behave like Medicare disadvantage plans and you get less coverage?
No, there's so much misinformation around the 6 states that are trying a prior authorization model. Essentially, what it's designed to fight is fraud, waste, and abuse. There were over $10 billion of claims for a special type of bandages, a special type of wound bandage. And so it's designed to target instances of waste like that. The standard for original Medicare is medical necessity. As long as your doctor thinks it's medically necessary, original Medicare is going to cover it. And that is also true of the 6 states that are trialing prior authorization for a very limited subtype of care that you receive. So I would not be concerned at all. And no, it's not going to work like Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage is administered by a private insurance company, subject to the insurance company's terms and conditions. And trust me, as an attorney, there's hundreds of pages of terms and conditions for each one of these plans. And they vary depending on the plan that you choose, depending on where you live, and it goes county by county across the United States. There's over 24,000 options. So if you want flexibility and comprehensiveness, I would choose original Medicare, a Medicare supplement, and a standalone prescription drug plan. If instead you're cost sensitive and you don't use very much healthcare, that's a good use case for Medicare Advantage. Or if you're on Medicare but younger than 65, that's another good use case for Medicare Advantage.
Okay, a Social Security question from Cindy. I'm 65 years old and have been receiving my own Social Security benefit since 2023. My husband is still working in his S Corp and plans to claim his Social Security at age 67, his full retirement age. When he files, will I be allowed to switch to a spousal benefit? His 50% spousal amount will be higher than my own benefit. However, since I claim my own benefit early, I'm not sure whether that permanently reduces or disqualifies my ability to receive a full spousal benefit. Can you explain how spousal benefits work in a situation like this and whether claiming early affects what I can receive once my husband claims?
Yes, I can. In fact, and on my YouTube channel, there's a video on dual income families in this very question is actually broken out mathematically for you. But the way to think about this is as follows. If you claim your benefit early and your husband hasn't claimed his benefit, you only are entitled to one, and that's yours. Once your husband claims his benefit, then you're entitled to both, and that's what's called dual entitlement. And the SSA will just give you the larger of the two. But since your husband hasn't filed for his own Social Security, you're locking in a cash flow for yourself until he reaches age 67. But you are locking in that amount on the larger benefit. So if the larger, and I'm just going to make up some numbers because this is actually quite complicated mathematically, but let's just say that your benefit at age 65 was $900 a month. Your spousal benefit at full retirement age is $1,500 a month. You're locking in $900 of that $1,500 at age 65. Let's just say that you would have gotten $1,000 at full retirement age. You're foregoing that extra $100 on that $1,500 a month. So you're down to $1,400 a month. Check out the video on YouTube. It'll go through the exact math, but just know that unfortunately some politician somewhere has done the math already and they figured out that you can't really do that. And so you'll be locking in a portion of the larger benefit at the lower age.
Okay, we seem to be getting a bunch of Medicare and some emailed in. So we're going to try to
We can do a rapid fire session. I see some of the questions. So the first one is Oregonian living in Portugal. Is there a special circumstance to change insurance outside the annual enrollment period? And the answer is yes. Moving to a new state would certainly constitute a special election period. So don't worry, you wouldn't be stuck with whatever you sign up for now. You would have a new election period to change your coverage if you move.
Okay, great. Then the next one right on top of that, Runla to Music. I have Medicare Part A and B, no supplement plan. If I want to enroll in a plan before December 7th, am I still subject to penalties And does the premium reduce my Social Security income?
You're not subject to a penalty because you already are on original Medicare. You're on Part A and Part B. You just don't have additional coverage. So that means you owe 20% out of pocket. For example, my mom lives in the Chicagoland area. Last summer, she received a knee replacement. It's a $50,000 procedure there. She would have owed $10,000 out of pocket for her knee. The very next month, she slipped, broke her elbow. She needed titanium in her elbow. She's bionic at this point. And she would have owed 20% for everything related to her elbow. So that's the risk you run by not having some type of additional coverage. It's not the penalty. It's that you owe 20% out of pocket for your medical costs, and sky's the limit.
Okay, one step at a time curiosity is asking, I'm receiving SSDI payments. Oh, sorry, the screen just moved. In January, I qualify for Medicare. However, I receive medical insurance through my husband's employer's FHEB. Should I pay for Part B? I'm in Washington State.
Again, this is going to depend on some FEHB employees choose to take Part B because they like that they have minimal copays if they have the combination of their Medicare and FEH insurance. Some choose not to take Medicare Part B and just use their FEH insurance. It's going to be a case-by-case basis. If you are subject to IRMAA, normally you would just take FEH and not choose to also enroll in Part B because of the Part B wealth tax, the IRMAA surcharge.
Okay, Mike is asking, some basics on when you must sign up and how would be great, especially if you plan on working later than the required sign-up age.
For those turning 65 who aren't still working, and that means working for an employer with 20 employees or more, rule of 20, the time to sign up for Medicare is 3 months before your 65th birthday. And your Medicare will begin on the first of the month in which you turn 65. For those who are still working or your spouse is still working for a large employer, 20 employees or more, then you can delay signing up for Medicare until you or your spouse is ready to retire. There, sign up for Medicare 2 to 3 months before, so that way you don't experience a gap in your coverage. And that's something we'd be delighted to help you with. It takes less than 5 minutes to apply online to activate your Medicare. And then we can walk through your options for additional coverage. Good news, there's only 2 options for additional coverage, but there's over 24,000 plans nationwide. So it helps to have someone to help you sort through the morass and also to provide ongoing support. And that's what our member advocate team does. They fight every step of the way for you. Whether it's a misplaced ID card, we help you get another. A question about a claims invoice, those are written in hieroglyphics, we'll help you decipher it. Or if you're at the pharmacy and charged an outrageous copay, we'll make sure that that the pharmacist actually recalculates it so that you only pay what you owe.
Okay, Bob is asking, I'm covered under my wife's medical insurance from work. I'm enrolled in Part A for Medicare. Do I need to do anything else?
No, your spouse is still working. You're good. When your spouse is ready to retire, that'll be when you activate Medicare Part B, a month or 2 before your spouse's sign-off date. The only thing to double check is that your spouse's employer has 20 employees or more, rule of 20.
Okay, Kathy's asking, U.S. citizens living abroad are often advised to choose Medicare Advantage instead of traditional Medicare because many Advantage plans include emergency and urgent care coverage outside the United States. For expats, does Medicare Advantage really offer better protection than standard Medicare? What factors should someone living overseas consider when choosing between the two?
Whew. So this is a personal question to me. My dad was an expat. He decided not to take Part B at all, in spite of my trying to encourage him to consider it. So I think it's great that you have Part B, even though you're an expat, and that you're considering what type of additional coverage to choose. I think it's really smart that you're looking at the emergency care benefit that you would receive outside the United States. I think something else to consider is how often you come back to the United States, because then it can provide some coverage when you're in the States as well. So I think you're thinking your mind is exactly in the right place. It's smart to probably look at Advantage plans because Medigap would only cover what original Medicare covers, and the international benefit isn't going to apply to you because the foreign travel benefit under a Medigap plan is only for the first 60 days that you're outside the United States, subject to a $50,000 lifetime limit. So that really helps people who are vacationing, but it doesn't help an expat who spends a lot of time away from the US.
Okay, Alan is asking, I turned 65 this week. I applied for Social Security back in September 2025, but my claim is still pending. Because the claim is in progress, the Medicare website won't let me log in or enroll in Medicare. Since I'm required to enroll at 65, I'm worried about missing the deadline. Will I face penalties if I can't enroll on time because my SSA claim is still pending?
People who turn their Social Security on before 65 are automatically enrolled in Medicare, and your Medicare will begin the first of the month in which you turn 65. So rest assured, you should also be issued your red, white, and blue Medicare card. And if for whatever reason you don't want it, there's also a short opt-out form that you can just return. For example, if your spouse is still working and it's an employer with 20 employees or more, to beat a dead horse, then in that situation, if it's affordable coverage for you to remain on your spouse's employer plan, then just return the slip to disenroll from Part B. But you're all right.
Okay, Eddie's asking, I had to defer Part B because I'm dependent on manufacturer coupons to get affordable drug pricing. Is it still true that these coupons are dead under Part B?
I have seen, okay, so as a general rule, the answer is yes. The coupons typically only apply to those who are on commercial insurance. So you become ineligible for those drug manufacturer coupons when you start Medicare. That is true. I have seen on a case-by-case basis some beneficiaries who still receive coupons for their very expensive medications. It's just going to depend. I also want to mention that there's a maximum out of pocket on Part D. And there's been a maximum out of pocket for this year. It's $2,000. And for next year, it's $2,100. And that really surprises people because previously from 2006 to 2023, there was no maximum out of pocket on your prescriptions. And for the last 2 years, that hasn't been the case. So you might be surprised at how affordable your prescriptions have become under Medicare.
Okay, David's asking, I'm turning 69 this month. I enrolled in Medicare Parts A and B at 65, but later canceled Part B when I took a job with employer health coverage. Over the last 4 years, there were gaps when I had no health insurance, roughly 16 months without coverage, though I'm covered right now. When I retire in a few months and re-enroll in Medicare Part B, will I owe a late enrollment penalty for the months I was not covered?
All right, so there's actually two parts to this question. The first part is, what is your enrollment period? And the answer is going to surprise you. It's not the Part B special election period. The reason why is because you had a gap in your employee record once you turned 65. There were a period where you went without employer provided insurance, and it's only for people who were continuously employed. So you actually will apply by way of the general enrollment period. Your Medicare Part B will start, it's up to you, either February 1st, March 1st, or April 1st. But you're going to use the general enrollment period to sign up for Medicare. The next question is whether you're going to owe a Part B late enrollment penalty. And here I have good news for you, which is that the penalty would only apply if you went 12 full months without creditable coverage. So if you went 12 full months without employer provided coverage, then you would be subject to a 10% late enrollment penalty because it's 10% for every 12 months that you went without. So the question is going to be how lumpy that 16-month period was.
All right, we are at 8 o'clock. The questions have been coming in. We did get to a lot of those questions that were in the chat box. There were more questions on Social Security that were emailed in, but now that we'll be, hitting the annual enrollment deadline next week, we will bring those questions back in from the email. We wanted to make sure we covered all those Medicare questions before the annual enrollment ends. But AI Schmidt's, Jeff, is mentioning, well, thank you for both of your expertise, but currently on Module 13 of Social Security Simplified, and is finding the course very enlightening. So I thought I'd pass that on. Lots of gratitude in the chat box. Thank you all for engaging. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Jeff.
Well, first of all, thank you, AI Schmidt. That is that's a wonderful comment. I'm glad you like the course. Ari, thank you so much for guiding us through the annual enrollment period. For those of you that this is your first time on the live stream, Ari's been with us pretty much every week since the annual enrollment period started. And just from the bottom of my heart, I truly appreciate your expert guidance over the last 9 weeks or so. Gang, we are coming back next Tuesday, Social Security only. Ari will be back, probably not next week, but he'll be back, and we've got a lot of stuff coming up in the future, starting January 1st, and so we'll have Ari back again in the future. But Ari, thank you so much. Really, this is super helpful. Thank you. From
oh my goodness, I did not expect to get flowers at the end of this live. Thank you so much, Jeff, and to Jill for your moderation, for allowing Jeff and I to just sit back and play armchair expert while you sift through the comments to raise those questions that we answer. And thank you to all the viewers who emailed in excellent questions and participated in the live chat. I'm sorry we weren't able to get to all of your questions, but I hope that we were able to provide a lot of general guidance that will serve you well. If you are already on Medicare, your deadline is 5 days away. It is December 7th at the stroke of midnight. So this is your opportunity to review your coverage for 2026, or for some of the viewers who just have original Medicare, to choose additional coverage to protect against the 20% you otherwise owe out of pocket and get drug coverage. So please, if you're already on Medicare, there's 72 million of you, help a friend, help a loved one, an acquaintance, encourage them to review their coverage. You can do it through Medicare.gov, or you can call us. There's no charge to work with an advisor. Just make sure you're working with someone who's independent and unbiased.
That's
so much gratitude coming in the chat box for both of you. So thank you both for bringing your expertise. I'm the voice of the people over here.
Voice of the people. And Jill, thank you for being the voice of the people. Thank you for your expert moderation over the last 9 weeks or so. And we will see you, gang, next Tuesday, same time, and we'll pick it up from there. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next